Hello, everyone. How are you doing today? Just going to try and pin this tweet before we get started. And looks like it's not going to let me do it today. Well, guys, I'm so excited for today. Today, I'm going to be speaking to actor, filmmaker, and activist Lina Esco. She's going to be joining us any moment now. In fact, I'm going to see if I can invite her right now. Let's see. Sometimes it takes a little while to get this happening, but it gives you all a chance to come on in and join us. Oh, I can actually pin the comment today. Well, look at that. Instagram seems to be behaving for us today. I'm very excited for that. So let's see. Here we go. Well, it's not allowing me to invite her just now, so I'm just going to wait a moment and then try again. Let's see. So I have so much to chat with Lina about today. You may know her from her role in the action-packed series SWAT. You may know her from the Free the Nipple movement, which she launched in 2014, along with the movie by the same name, which she wrote, directed, and starred in. She has started the Human Campaign, which is dedicated to ratifying the Equal Rights Amendment. And she is really an inspirational woman, and she has so much to talk about. Now let's see if we can invite her in here. I think I spoke too soon when I said that Instagram was going to play ball with us today. Well, for some reason, I see you in here, Lina. Lina is here, so I'm so excited to get her in here. I'm going to see if I can press her name and get her. No, I can pin her comment. Lina, I'm so excited to talk to you. This is just building the suspense. So Lina is here, everyone. We are going to get right into this conversation as soon as I'm able to get Instagram to work. We already tested this earlier and it worked fine. So I think that's where all of our luck was used up then. Here we go. All right. Requesting Lina. This is so exciting. Woo!
Hey!
Hi!
Oh, that was hard.
Oh my gosh, this happens almost every week. It's so stressful. But I'm so glad that you're here. I'm so excited to chat with you. And thank you for taking the time.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for inviting me.
Well, since we are speaking on the Playboy account, which, by the way, you can all click the link in Playboy's bio to see more of us, I would love to ask you, Lina, what was it like posing for Playboy?
It was fun. It was easy. I mean, I think the whole staff that works at Playboy is so friendly, open. It just felt like something that was fun. And I ended up working with one of my really good friends, Ellen Van Onworth. We all collaborated together on what we wanted to do. It was a very collaborative team kind of effort. It was fun. I would do it again.
You used the words easy and fun to describe getting naked in front of people. And I, in my industry, obviously, I do also get naked in front of people. But for many people, the idea of using the word easy and fun to do with their own nudity is frightening. So can you tell me, have you always been comfortable in your own skin? No.
No, I grew up Catholic. I think there was some sort of there's that puritanical DNA thing that we all have here in the United States, plus the whole religious thing. And so growing up like that, I felt, you know, I felt really uncomfortable with my body. I don't know, I just always, as a kid, I always hid behind my hair, and it took a lot of work. First time I actually went topless in public was when we were shooting Free the Nipple. But in terms of me, when I was younger and I'd be like, let's get naked, or it's when I would party with my friends and I just felt like taking my clothes off. But if I was sober, I'd be completely afraid. But it just took a while, and being around people that you feel comfortable with, and it's something that, you know, you're just having fun with, it just takes that edge off, and being surrounded by people you love. And so it's a process. It's not for everybody, but I actually would love it if everybody just tried it, you know, to run down the street topless, or, I mean, I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but I'm saying it's a very liberating thing to kind of take back your, you know, owning yourself, as opposed to somebody, you know, owning that or sexualizing that or objectifying that. There's something about you having that ownership of yourself and saying, you know what, fuck you. This is my body. This is who I am. I love it. I don't care what you say. And that's it. That sort of ownership. It's a very empowering as a woman or a man.
Yeah, and I feel that empowerment is something that I've definitely felt through my own journey and getting naked in front of the camera and in front of people, which brings me to the Free the Nipple movement, which obviously you founded and wrote and directed and starred in a movie of the same name. So, and you spoke about the first time getting your breasts out in public was during the filming of that movie. And one thing that I found very interesting about the movie was that in the beginning, the nipples are censored. And I know there's a story behind that. So could you tell us why in the beginning of that movie, the nipples are actually censored?
It was something we didn't predict. The reason why we wanted to shoot in New York is because it's been legal to be topless in public since 1992. So we wanted to shoot there, and we got permits to shoot in Wall Street, this opening of all these girls just running around topless, kind of making a stance on equality, and the nipple was the Trojan horse. And so while we were there, we were about to yell action. These cops that were there, obviously, because once you have permits, you can have cops there protecting and kind of directing traffic. And in that moment, when I said action, they came over to me and they said, you have to put pasties on these girls, not just pasties, but a wrap around over the pasties to the back. And I'm like, wait a minute, we got permits and it's been legal here since 1992. That's not happening. And he goes, well, it's different when you're shooting, because it can seem like you're shooting porn to passerbys. I was in shock. I was like, are you kidding me? I have 40 something other exterior shots that I have to shoot topless, and I mean, I'm on day 2 right now, and there's nothing I can do. And I basically said, fuck this shit. I'm gonna go and shoot this guerrilla style, rehearse it clothed, and do 1 or 2 takes before somebody reports us. And so at the beginning, there was nothing we could do. We only got the permits for that day to shoot in Wall Street, and we couldn't turn back and rehearse that. So we had the whole production there, so we kept that. And at the end, it ended up working. That first half of the film, nipples are censored. Second half, they aren't. But it was never written that way. It was never meant to be that way.
How ironic and frustrating that you're creating a movie called Free the Nipple and you're being censored, and you're having to censor yourself and your own film.
Yeah. And we ended up just stealing every other topless shot that you see throughout the film. Was basically, we were there, we rehearsed, and we did 1 or 2 takes of rehearsals, and then we shot it in that one go. And maybe we tried one more time, and by then you would have a cop or somebody come over. And it's always a woman complaining. It's always a woman calling the police officer. It's never been a man.
Interesting.
I'm just saying, it's, and we were a part of starting another campaign in 2014 about legalizing, I can't believe I'm using that word, of women posting pictures of breastfeeding on Facebook and Instagram. And we were campaigning on that. And we talked to a lot of women that were coming and speaking about how they've always been reported while, you know, breastfeeding in public, and it's always a woman, always complaining.
What do you think that's about? Do you have a theory about why that is?
I think it's insecurity. I think it has to do with also if they're traveling with a husband or you know, whoever, they're saying, well, my husband can't look at that. It's a thing that is a stigma in women. I don't know. It feels like a lot of women are catty amongst one another and competitive. And that's why I feel the women's movements are not moving forward enough, fast enough, because there's a sort of competition factor of also, if you're seeing a woman enjoying herself topless, or she's doing her own thing in her own way, why do you have a problem with that? Why are you trying to shut that down? And if your husband is looking, then that's not her problem. You know, I live in a building, and I have a neighbor in front of me, and she lives in a house, and I live in the second floor of a building. And perfect example, I can, because I'm on the second floor, I can see through. I can see a girl always tanning topless. I mean, what else are we doing in quarantine? If I had a garden, I'd be outside topless and naked. I don't care. But the neighbor next door started complaining that she can see the girl down there every time she looks through the window. And I'm like, why are you trying to find this? And she's saying that she wants to complain because it's bothering her that every time she looks out, she sees this topless girl out there enjoying her innocent self, having fun. And, you know, so it became a bit of an issue. So she was actually on Citizen, which is an app here where, you know, neighbors complain, and we started saying, I'm your neighbor and we have the same view, and what is the problem with what she's doing? So it ended up being kind of funny.
Wow, that's yeah, I mean, what do you think it is about nipples? Like, what is so offensive about the female nipple specifically?
I think there, especially in the United States, I think there's so much money in the hiding of it, you know, the mystery of it, you know. But everything you can show, you can sexualize, you can objectify, you can do anything you want. You can post all that stuff that's completely available and legal. But the moment a girl or a woman is topless, just like that, straight up, not sexualizing herself or objectifying herself or being sexy, whatever, that's just literally straight up hell. You're going to hell. So I don't know. I feel it's a stigma. I feel like the puritanical mentality that we have, that we're brought up in, I think religion has to do a lot with that. I think we're afraid of our own freedom. I think, I mean, the legalization of nipples in terms of men, making him mainstream, was Clark Gable back in the days. He was the first man to be topless in a movie. And since then, it's been normalized and legalized. You know, back then it was illegal for men to be topless, and they campaigned it. And they used to fine men $1 for not wearing their one-piece suit. So it's, you know, it's been around, and we've never had the process of normalizing that, because women have always been oppressed. Women are second-class citizens. So I don't know what's wrong. There's nothing wrong with seeing a woman being free and happy in her own bathing suit.
Yeah.
Not bathing suit, but birth suit.
Yeah.
Birth suit. Anyways.
Well, that sort of leads into this current campaign that you've created, which is the Human Campaign, which I'd love to understand the catalyst for that, and what it is that you're trying to do with the Human Campaign.
The Human Campaign is a step further than Free the Nipple. Free the Nipple scared a lot of people. People misinterpreted it for some reason, and it was just to start a conversation about gender equality. And sometimes we have to do crazy things for people to listen and pay attention. And then, like I said before, it was the Trojan horse. There's nothing more sustainable and important than having a language in the Constitution that states men and women should be equal. We don't have that provision in the United States Constitution. And so it's started in 1923 by Alice Paul, and she campaigned all the way to the 70s. She died in 71, but in 1972, it passed 35 states. You need 38 states in order for it to become constitutional. And it was a 7-year deadline. No other amendment has had deadlines, but because this has to do obviously with women, there was a deadline. And so Jimmy Carter actually signed an extension of it, and ended up being a 10-year thing. And in those 10 years, only 35 states ratified, and it died. The biggest opponent of the Equal Rights Amendment was Phyllis Schlafly. There's a new show here in the United States on FX. It's called Mrs. America. And actually, Kate Blanchett is playing Phyllis Schlafly, who was the biggest opponent of the Equal Rights Amendment. At the time, it used to be called ERA. And it was said that the rumor was that she was bought by the insurance companies to keep women at home. She believed that if this passed, women can get raped, women would have to get drafted into the war, that this had to do with abortion. It had nothing to do with any of the above, of the abortion. So this campaign that we started is called the Equal Rights Amendment. It's a bipartisan campaign. We have former Obama staff, former Mitt Romney and George W. Bush campaign manager. So it's a bipartisan campaign that we're really excited about. It's a long road because it's been dead since 1982. And so trying to revive it would mean a lot. So we're working with constitutional lawyers that have helped pass the legalization of gay marriage. And so it's a long process. It's been many years since it's been dead. So we're in the process of trying to revive it in the safest, most strategic way possible.
So, I mean, we're talking about something that's almost 100 years old, and it's 2020, and we still don't have equal rights to men. It's kind of insane.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Like, what are your strategies to get people to actually listen and to fight for this?
The situation that we're in right now, we had a big momentum. We still kind of do, but of what's happening with women, and it comes in waves. If you look back at our history, it always comes in waves. The 20s, when women were first allowed to vote, and women of color first started allowed to vote in the 50s, 60s. So there's all these waves that come in and out. If we don't capitalize on these waves, momentum, we're gonna lose it. And there's been a wave since the Women's March. There's been a wave since the Me Too movement. There's been a wave since the Time's Up. There's been a wave since Free the Nipple. But what are we doing with this? Because wearing a t-shirt, talking about it, is not going to do anything. And that's why I keep trying to push something on a constitutional level. Almost every case that has to do with women's rights, the Equal Pay Act, or anything with that, pay disparity, it goes into the 14th Amendment, which was an originally created amendment here in the United States for the newly freed slaves. And it just trickled down into all these other things. So every case that happens to do with women and it goes into the 14th Amendment, we lose with the Supreme Court. So there's nothing changing. And unfortunately, wearing a t-shirt and going and campaigning out there in the streets is not going to do it. I think it's going to take the right amount of money, the right amount of strategy, and the right amount of lobbying and lawyers to really get in there in front of these people stopping this. Because for the last 40 something years, the ERA communities, the ERA coalitions have been going out there and placing these things in front of these people, and they're still not wanting to look at it. So it's going to take the right connections, the right political connections, and the lobbying to really get in there and fix and find out who's stopping this, and find a way where both parties are happy with this. So that's the whole thing, and it's a process, and that's why it's been very underground what we're doing, and very strategic and quiet, because there's a lot of things that we're stepping on that we want to make sure we're not rocking the wrong boats, you know?
Yeah. And I know, you know, campaigns like this and campaigns like Free the Nipple are very disruptive. And as a woman in Hollywood, in a very much still a man's world, I'm wondering if your openness and your activism has actually affected your acting career.
Fortunately, it hasn't, because I feel like they know what they're getting when they sign it. Hey, okay, we know this about you. Okay, great. I mean, at the end of the day, I can't live with one or the other. I have to be a part of everything. I'm an activist, I'm an actress, I'm a director, I produce, you know, it's just who I am. I can't live without any of them, and they're all part of who I am. So I don't see any shame in what I'm doing. And if they think I'm doing something that's shameful, then that's not a reason we should work together. You know, I'm not going to change for anybody. I'm going to be who I am. And that's it.
And I think that's part of the reason that you're such an inspiration to so many women. And I did read that you do choose the characters that you play, or the roles that you choose based on their strength. And obviously in SWAT you play a character that's very much badass and strong and empowered. And I'm wondering, like, how is it that you choose these roles, and how is it that you tap into that strength?
I'm always trying to look for a character that I can expand on, a character that can inspire me, a character that can speak through me and inspire people, men and women. I still think we don't have enough female roles out there that we can still, that quote that I always go back to, this quote: you can't be what you don't see. If you don't see a certain representation of you or what you would like to be, you're never going to aspire to dig out of your own self to be something bigger and aim higher in terms of, in any sort of level as a human being. So I try to dig up for those. I'm not some big actor that's like, hey, I've got all these I gotta pick, and like, no, I sometimes will go a while without working until I find something I love. And those are sacrifices that we make as actors. It's already hard out there. You just knock 100 doors, hopefully one will open, and when that one opens, the one that you choose, you're wishing that, like, this can be something that you can actually really dive into and expand and get inspired and really breathe and speak through this character that's ultimately going to inspire people. And SWAT was one of those. I didn't want to work for a while until I found something that really inspired me and a character. And she's the only female SWAT officer, and so it was a no-brainer. I was like, this is I can really speak through her, and I'm gonna try to stay as loyal as I possibly can to the world and to what she's going through and what she's gonna transmit.
Going back to that quote, you can't be what you can't see. Who are some of the female role models that have really inspired you throughout your life?
Laura Poitras. She's a documentarian she's just a badass, but she was the woman that directed Citizen4. Was it Citizen4? No. Yeah, the Edward Snowden documentary. Because she's done a few things, but she is the woman that Edward Snowden called when he was about to reveal what he was going to reveal. And she went out there and filmed him. But she's a badass filmmaker. Sylvia Earle, she is a oceanographer trying to save the oceans. Jane Goodall, RBG, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Gloria Steinem. Those are the only people right now on top of my head, but there's a lot of women that I admire and I look up to. I'll think of more. But what about you? Tell me, who do you admire?
My mom. I mean, there's so many women that I admire. My mom's always the first person that comes to my mind, because she's somebody that, I mean, obviously the woman who's been in my life for my entire life, and somebody who's always been an independent woman, and she instilled the values in me today that make me the empowered, independent woman that I am. And I'm a free thinker. I'm somebody, I don't necessarily go with the status quo. I'm in sex work. It's not your average job, and I feel empowered in the work that I do, and I feel empowered in my body. So I that's all. I mean, pretty much all of that just came from my mom. Yeah, she's just such an inspiration to me. Many of the women that you named as well. I mean, a lot of the academics that I studied at university, like Judith Butler, she's definitely an inspiration to me. But I'll think of more too, and I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, getting back to the Free the Nipple movement.
Yeah.
What were some of the lessons that you learned from that you can now take into this new campaign, the Human Campaign? Like, what are some of the lessons and the difficulties and the things that you'll take from that will help you with this new campaign?
That there's going to be a lot of people that are going to hate what you do. And there's going to be few people that will love what you do, and there's going to be also a lot of people that don't care, and that you got to stick with the people that love what you're doing and that share the same passion, and that's all that matters at the end of the day. You can't really change all hearts and minds. People are going to have their own opinions. They're going to have their own interpretation of what you're trying to do always, and trying to, you know, turn things around. And you're always going to be misunderstood in some level. And, you know.
You mentioned that a lot of people misinterpreted the Free the Nipple movement. I'm wondering what were some of the misinterpretations?
Just that we were just trying to get our tits out. That we just wanted attention. And realistically, what was going on is that nobody at the time when we started really talking and writing this in 2011, 2010, we shot the movie in 2012. We didn't sell it to 2015. At the time, no one was talking about this. Media wasn't talking about this. Journalists weren't talking about this in this day and age at that time. And so it was really challenging, because when we even finished the film, the distribution companies, their words were, there's no audience for this. No one's talking, you know, I don't know how you're gonna. And so that's what we started, we started the movement, and it just kind of blew up. And then from there, we were able to sell the film because everyone started calling. But the first person to believe in this from day one was Lisa Azuelos. She's this incredible French director who I did a movie with in 2010 called LOL. And that's when I told her I want to do a movie about these women wanting to start a national conversation about gender equality by going topless. And obviously she's French. She goes, oh my God, when you're done with the script, I'm going to finance your film. And she went out there and found me $1 million, and we went and shot this film.
That's incredible.
That's how it happened. But that was the easiest thing. Everything else was impossible. You know, everything was just everything. We came up against every single wall you can possibly imagine, from getting arrested to people trying to shut us down, from, everything you can possibly imagine. Everything happened. I mean, it's a miracle there's a movie. It's a miracle that I was able to deliver something, because there were so many holes. We lost some money. We couldn't shoot the ending. So I went into the editing room with no ending. I went to the editing room with barely anything, and it was just patching up. And, you know, it was a miracle that movie even made it. It was very hard to make.
Are you happy with what the Free the Nipple movement achieved?
Yeah, I mean, I am happy with it. I feel like the only way that I can feel happier is that this completely goes into what I'm doing next, which is getting a language in the Constitution, because this is not, again, sustainable, and things are not changed. Women are still being censored, but yet you can see all kinds of crazy shit on Instagram. You can still see women being tortured, women being treated like shit on Instagram, and all this violence can be shown. You can buy guns on Instagram. You can, you know, there's all this really dark stuff that is still permissible. And I don't know, I just feel that maybe it did start the conversation, and certain women use it as a stance, but it's still not changing things. I'm still getting reported. I stopped even posting sometimes on the Free the Nipple side, because it's just like, oh my God, are you serious? This is just like, it's weird. Even if it's blurry, sometimes they decide to shut me down. So,
well, you can certainly be proud of the successes that it has had. I mean, the hashtag Free the Nipple is still used frequently. You certainly got the conversation started. And I know that you had some success with Facebook with the breastfeeding images now being allowed, which is, you know, I mean, obviously nipples are still censored, and there's still such a taboo, but the movement certainly has had a lot of success, which I'm sure you must be very proud of.
I'm proud of that, and I'm proud of what it's done. But yeah, it's still being misunderstood at times, and it still hasn't changed anything like to that deep level that I would have liked. I guess I'm always searching. I'm always going, you know, I never stop. I need to learn how to, you know what I mean? It's like, Let's just relax and see what has happened, what has been accomplished, and kind of enjoy that. And sometimes it's hard to do that when you're trying to, you know what I mean, trying to just like push it all.
Well, I think that the movement you created was absolutely incredible, and I'm really excited to see what you do with the Human Campaign. And I'd love to know what is next for you. I mean, obviously, you're still working on the Human Campaign. It's almost 100 years later, and we're still trying to get equal rights. What are you doing, especially during this pandemic when it's so difficult to? You can't get in large groups. You can't organize. How are you campaigning?
Right now, we're not campaigning. We're just trying to do what we can. I'm writing a lot. I'm doing my own thing, but it's a process. I mean, how are you dealing with this quarantine? How are you dealing with it? Where are you in Australia?
No, I'm in Los Angeles. And
what?
Yeah, I know.
That's amazing.
So, I think that this really is the era of the performer. I mean, it's been very lucky in my industry because we have all these independent platforms now where we're able to make money without the traditional studios. So you'll find that pretty much every female and male performer in the industry is now also a director and producer. So we have platforms like OnlyFans, like AVN Stars, where we can create our own content. Obviously, right now it's solo content only because we're not going out there and shooting with other people, but I'm able to create content from the safety of my own home and then provide it to my fans without any middlemen. It's really a wonderful time to be in the industry. Performers have more power than ever before. So, I mean, obviously it's a terrible situation, this pandemic, but it's fortunate that we still have avenues to make money and to express our sexuality and to entertain the fans during this period when, a lot of people really do need entertainment. People are locked inside.
Everybody does.
Yeah.
I mean, let's really talk about what people are doing here. I mean, come on. I watch porn. I mean, we all do. Let's really get into the gist of it. We all watch movies. We all watch shows. We're all consuming, and so it's what we got to do. And, as actors, I was talking to friends of mine. They're like, what's happening? They're like, oh, well, I'm having a Zoom audition. I was like, what? That's amazing. And it's great for people that hate being in the room and like they get so shy in the room, like in an audition. So now you just you self-tape at home and you send something over and it's like, that's fun. Or you audition in your own home, in your own comfort. And you're going to get a better performance when it's on your own terms, So I can imagine. It's fun. You're running your stuff,
It's so funny that you mentioned Zoom auditions because now we're all making Zoom porn. We're literally doing Zoom orgies. Yeah, we're doing live Zoom chats. It's all The porn industry or the adult industry has always been very innovative. We're always just taking new technologies and new platforms, just going, okay, how can we use this to entertain people and express our sexuality? So
exactly,
there's always a way.
Always a way. I mean, come on.
Well, yeah, I'm surprised that your neighbor was so upset by seeing, a woman sunbathe topless during this period. I, for one, would absolutely love that. That's the entertainment that I'm craving at this point.
Absolutely. If I was here, I'm like in my computer, I'm bored, and then I see the girl over there topless, literally she was just putting sunblock like this, like nothing. Like, I'm like, look at her. Look how free she is. I love it. And this one over here was like, oh my God, I can't think every time I go out, blah, blah. I'm like, what is it that you want to do? You want to fuck her? What's going on? Like, are you into her? What's going on? Why is it bugging the shit out of you so much? Because she's so free and it bugs you because you're in there and not being able to be like that, or you're not comfortable with your own self. I don't know what it is. Like, when people are not happy, they want other people not to be happy. That's how I start to see it. And that's the truth. Hurt people want to hurt people, and people that are not happy want to see other people not happy. So she was whack.
Yeah, I think that a sad part about that is it's often somebody's own insecurity that makes them lash out like that. So
totally.
And part of that is because we live in a culture that sells us the idea that there is one kind of perfect body, and if you don't fit that mold, you shouldn't be out there sunbaking naked. And so I don't know, perhaps.
It's so true. It's so, I mean, now it's like, last summer we were at my friend's house in Corsica in the south of France, and we were all just topless having a good time. And when you're with your girlfriends, everyone's naked and we're just like enjoying ourselves. You go back to that little girl feeling where you're just like a kid and you don't care. And some people are like, okay, well, what if there's a guy looking at you? And I said, well, you know what? If he's looking at me at some point, he's going to get tired of looking at me. And then it's just going to be like, oh, it's not, they're just boobs. They're not going anywhere. I just haven't seen them in so long, but I just look at them for so long. And now, oh, they're not going anywhere. Boom, they become normalized. And that's the kind of sort of splash impact that I think America needs or something.
Yeah, well, I think that if it wasn't so taboo, people wouldn't be looking so much. And I make this joke a lot that, you know, in my ideal world, I'd be out of a job, because in my ideal world, pornography might not have as much of a place, because part of the reason that it's, you know, that so many people consume it is that there is so much shame around sex in our society, and so we are so shameful about our own nudity. We're so scared to talk about sex that pornography has this you know, there's a taboo factor of it. It makes it even more fun to watch because it's taboo.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it's so exciting. I can remember the shift of 2007, 2008, where you used to have, you know, you had your password to porn, right? And, or you would go and you rent, you know, at a video shop at the end, like your porn video, and you would just, oh my God, you know? And then as a kid, you know, porn magazines, you know, I had a Playboy as a kid. I was like, oh my God, I got to look at all of this. And I had, you know, Playgirl, everything. I was like, you know, I was a curious person at a very young age. And the more it was forbidden, the more I wanted it. Why is this so forbidden? And I remember when porn became, you know, Pornhub, YouPorn, all of those things, and that shift that happened where all of a sudden it was like YouTube, it was access. Mm-hmm. And it was like that thing where like, oh, I'm going to go in my room by myself because this is my own time. You know, let's just get real. Everyone experiences this stuff. I don't know how people go out there and they're like, oh, they should shut that down. Come on. How many times have you done your own thing in your own bedroom while you're watching this? And you're there, you're trying to shame these people? Like, are you kidding me? You're consuming it. Now you're shaming it? This is the whole hypocritical society, world society we live in.
Yeah.
You know? And so the more you suppress, the more you have these people continue and consume this stuff behind walls. I had read a while back in the history of our world that, you know, back then the Greeks had all this art, you know, where you would walk into the living area, the Greek gods, and you had all these pictures of couples having sex and all this stuff in their actual home. And it wasn't until the Victorians started masturbating to those images behind walls that became porn. But before it was all open.
Yeah. Sex was normalized.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're sexual creatures. We want to express ourselves. But yeah, well, I hope you know that you got a lot of support from the sex industry with your Free the Nipple movement, because as you're probably well aware, sex workers do have a hard time on a lot of social media platforms and sometimes Instagram, simply because we do sell sex or sexual, you know, we're in the sexual industry. So yeah, I think the Free the Nipple campaign was really important for everybody, but particularly for sex workers. So thank you so much for everything that you've done.
Thank you for saying that.
And thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today. You're absolutely incredible. You're just such an inspiration. You're an incredible actor, incredible director, and obviously an amazing activist. And I can't wait to see what you're able to do with the Human Campaign. And everybody watching, make sure you click the link in Playboy's bio to see more of us. But before we go, Lina, I would love you to plug the Human Campaign and anything else, any of your social media or anything that you would like to tell the fans to go check out.
That's it. I think you said it right. It's the Human Campaign, I think, .org.com. And it's the Human Campaign.
It's thehumancampaign.org. I have it open here. Thehumancampaign.org.
.org, and then everything else. But we'll stay in touch. I really want to stay in touch. I want to talk to you about certain things because I'm very I've been reading a lot about what's happening with sex workers right now and anything that I can do to help.
Amazing. Thank you. That would be incredible. I'm just so honored to have had this conversation with you, and I hope that you have an incredible rest
Me
of your
too.
day.
You were awesome, and I'm so happy we're connected, and I look forward to talking to you again.
Excellent. Let's stay in touch.
Yes, we will.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.